I'm Joey Garrison. I'm a Metro government and politics reporter at the Tennessean. I've been here for about 6.5 years. Yeah, I mean, I've been covering Metro government and politics here in Nashville for almost a decade, even before I got to the Tennessean. And this has by far been the most active year in terms of so many things coming together. It started in the very first month of the year when Mayor Megan Barry admitted to a nearly 2-year affair with her former bodyguard, Robert Forrest. That ignited what was 34 days of, and even longer really after she resigned, of some of the reporting that I'm most proud of. We broke, me and other reporters, we reported first when she admitted to that affair, and then various developments along the way that showed how public dollars were used to advance that affair, and then we broke when she was going to resign. That was a very big deal for this city. She was a rising star in politics, and somebody who was, almost a celebrity up there with our, country music stars here in this city, and somebody who was really kind of had a national presence at this time, and that really sort of ignited what was, spilled into a whole lot of issues with our local government here that I ended up reporting throughout the course of the whole year. Yeah, I mean, so if you want to get down to all the council special elections as well, I think there were 6 elections, whether that's either a runoff election. We just going through them, it started off with, on May 1st, a transit referendum, which is one of the most historic events I've covered in this city, where voters had to decide whether they wanted to raise 4 taxes to pay for a $5.4 billion transit system that would have been anchored by light rail. It was ultimately rejected overwhelmingly. Part of the reason why, I think, was the politics of Megan Barry's resignation and scandal kind of spilled into that. But in the weeks leading up to that transit vote, myself, other reporters, we had an array of stories that really dug deep into the intricacies of the plan and tried to give readers an ability to debate the project, learn about it. I reported the politics of it again with Barry's resignation overlapping with it. New Mayor David Briley having to take them, push the project forward, and how that made it more difficult. And so that would have been the first election. It went on to David Briley, the former vice mayor, after being catapulted to the mayor. He had to run for the office full time in a special election on May 24th. We then moved. I also reported on on the U.S. Senate race, very high-profile race nationally between Phil Bredesen and Marsha Blackburn. Began first with a primary in August. I guess I could keep going on these elections, but there was also a vice mayor special election to replace David Briley. You obviously get to the November election, and in between there were a couple council races. So, for the Davidson County Election Commission and myself, there was and other reporters as well. I mean, there was a lot of elections going on. We'll have another one here in 2019 in August. Well, I mean, it's not every day that you have 2 statewide elections like we had for governor and Senate. We really hadn't had that in Tennessee in 12 years, since 2006, really, where you had these competitive races. So I definitely wanted to get my hands on that. Politics is something I cover a lot. I mean, my colleague Joel Liebert was doing more, and Natalie Allison was doing the governor's race, but I did as much of the U.S. Senate race as I could. In terms of managing the time, it was difficult. It was more of a load, but it was something I wanted to take part in because, again, that's an exciting moment for a reporter, especially in Tennessee, where we don't often see, Democrats having a competitive candidate and really having a race that was being looked at nationally as possibly one that would tip the balance of the Senate. That ultimately didn't happen, but that was something that was going on, politically the whole time. That obviously shown with the outpouring of money that came into the state, et cetera, that this was a real key state here in the midterm election cycle. Well, I mean, I think the Megan Barry resignation or scandal and resignation, that's just not something that I would have ever thought about just even a week couple weeks before finding out, getting tipped to the possibility of the affair. I mean, that's just something I wouldn't have dreamt about reporting. And so that was such an explosive story, and one that just rocked City Hall so much, and one that was being, diving into that way and really taking the lead on the story like that was something that I think, really, was gratifying, and also, really tested myself as a reporter in terms of the, both the subject matter and the ways we were finding stories, both through records and through sourcing. That I would say that would be my start, but also, in terms of growing as a reporter, doing that while also keeping an eye on that transit referendum that was coming up in late May. I kind of went into 2018 thinking I would just be almost exclusively writing about that transit topic for the first 3 or 4 months, because again, that's such a historic moment for the city that it hadn't done before, but it ultimately turned into historic for a different reason, with the mayor's situation. And so trying to handle both of those and do them both in a good and way that was going to be valuable to our readers here in Nashville. I mean, I think that's kind of what I'm most proud of as a reporter in 2018. Yeah, I mean, I think I was always somebody who liked to follow government and politics, and I like to be able to tell people what I know about them, and I like to be in the middle of the action and tell stories about what the powerful and the powerful people in our city or state or whatever that might be are doing, and how the decisions that affect everyday people are being made. And so, I mean, I think that's what interests me. It's what has continued to, and just being in that position, in that front seat, the thrill breaking of story, and seeing your name as part of the team that broke it never gets old. And you also want to make a difference as well. And I think my reporting, and I think the Tennesseans' reporting this year did make a difference. Well, I mean, I think the Twitter audience, there's different ways to find an audience, and I think or I should say there's different audiences, and I think the Twitter audience who follows me is somebody who is a little more into this, into the political scene here in Nashville and Tennessee than most other people. So I might go into something a little bit more detail, or offer like a glimpse of a meeting, or something else going on in metro politics that I might not, put in a story. And so I want to communicate that to people, and I want to be, kind of, funny with them as well, and maybe there's some sort of theme there, some joke, on-running joke there that we kind of all tap into together. I'm kind of with them as we're viewing this. That's sort of when I'm tweeting something out, I kind of take that perspective that we're all kind of learning this together, and this is sort of our a real-time look at something. If I'm covering a meeting, for example, I mean, there's not really much to like just live tweeting a meeting, but you don't want to just dryly put something out there where it's not going to have much of a impact. You almost want to do that in a way where, hey, I'm sitting here next to you as well, and we're watching this unfold, and these are my initial observations, and take them for what they are, but that's what it is. No, I mean, I'm honored to be submitted by the Tennessean for Journalist of the Year. I mean, I do think it was a year I was probably most proud of as a reporter. So many topics kind of came all together into what I think was one of the and we haven't even gotten to a lot of the topics as well. The Major League Soccer stadium getting approved, the Amazon deal, the ongoing battles with what the city's trying to do over short-term rentals and affordable housing and these new scooters. It was a wild year and a kind of a crossroads year in Nashville, and one where, as the city continues to grow, and, I always feel privileged to be right at the front seat, reporting these for the city's main, these big things for the city's main daily newspaper at a time when the city's got so much going on for it, but also so many questions, lingering out there that people want answered. And so if I was able to provide any of that during this year, to help people out there understand what was going on with our, mayor's situation and the political situation and the whole, movement trajectory of the city. That makes me very happy to think about.